Love and Money Mastery. Transforming relationship through financial unity.
And we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast, live conversations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode, Love, Money, and Mastery. We are Jason and Tina Marie, your life relationship speakers, coaches, and gurus in transforming your relationship. Today, we're bringing awareness to the transformative power of tackling finances as a united front.
All right. So it's Friday. It's Friday. He thought he missed that part. It's Friday. Woo-hoo. It's Friday. All right. So we understand the importance of the topic of money, right? Finances. But we're not just talking about budgeting and spreadsheets. We're discussing a profound shift in perspective that brings couples closer together. We've been through this process ourselves. So we understand the challenges and joys that come with being able to alter your mindset around finances as a couple.
That sounds good. So true, honey. So true. We have been around the block, haven't we?
Several blocks, several times.
Let's first start by acknowledging that financial unity is a pillar of a thriving relationship. Our first segment, though, is all about shifting from traditional money management to more collaborative and holistic approach.
Well, I remember when Jason and I first got married.
Oh, boy.
And we never discussed finances. We never discussed debt. We never discussed savings. We never discussed our way of paying bills. So after the honeymoon was over, it was a bit nerve-wracking to kind of sit down and realize how our differences were around finances. But it gave us an opportunity to sit down together and understand each other's perspectives around money and how to deal with them. And so, like he said, that's our first point today.
So throughout the podcast, we encourage you all to actively participate, share your experiences, and ask questions to engage with your host during our live conversations.
All right.
All right, so let's get to where you can connect with us on all the socials. We are on Instagram, Facebook, what else? TikTok, YouTube, and we're all at Legendary Relationship. Or you can catch us at our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Now there, you can get all of our resources, you can get past podcasts, you can get free resources, you can learn about our services, sign up for our course, all of those things right there.
You can get our free ebook.
All at legendaryrelationship.com.
Also, don't forget, if you want us to shout you out or drop you a line, please make sure that you put your name in the comments. Just say, hey, family, we are here to serve you, and just to say thank you for joining us.
Yep.
I don't know if last weekend was Valentine's weekend or this weekend is Valentine's weekend, but hey, we're partying either way.
There you go. We're having fun, right?
Yes.
In the name of love.
Fun in the name of love.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So our proven belief in transforming perspectives on finances is the fundamental mindset shift couples need when it comes to their finances. The shifts begin with viewing finances not as a source of separation or conflict, but as a tool for mutual growth instead of individual gains. Couples should aim for shared financial goals that strengthen their marriage currently and for in the future.
And I know for some couples, this may be hard because whether you've been married for a decade or 10 decades or you're newlyweds, finances are a big thing. And so we each have our own way of dealing with finances or how we've dealt with them in the past. However, our point tonight is just for you to understand as a couple to make sure that both partners are comfortable and aware of the state of their financial health as a couple. Secrets and failure to disclose, right? Disclose all the information around your finances can cause major issues in your relationship. But shifting your mindset around money and marriage can help avoid some unnecessary pitfalls that you really don't have to go through if you can just shift, maybe be open to other ways of looking at your finances as a couple.
Sure. Yeah, they kind of remind me of, like sometimes, I mean, I don't think going into a relationship or going into a marriage that we try to hide things. But
Right.
when you start talking about debt and, what you owe and how much of debt you're in,
Right.
I mean, like sometimes we don't be as truthful as we should be going in.
And I know through the couples that we've coached, what happens is that one person may be taking care of the finances, but then hardship may happen or something happens at work, right? We don't know. And then one partner is embarrassed to let the other partner know
For sure.
that they're in financial trouble. So this embarrassment, it leads that partner to not be open and honest with how things are going. So then it puts you in a blind spot. Then when the other couple finds out, the other partner finds out.
Right.
And now it's not just about the finances, but it's about trust. It's about other issues. It's about communication. It's about conflict. There's so many other areas that it falters into or spills over into when we're embarrassed or not honest up front about our finances.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we shouldn't be embarrassed about it, right? So what do we have a little debt and, maybe we didn't take care of it or whatever the case may be, student loans, all those type of things. It happens. It's a part of life. But I mean, like, it's nice to just go ahead and be honest with the person.
Yeah,
and say,
because you're not going to be able to hide it.
Right, because once you get together.
Or if you're together and one person is hiding it, it's going to come out.
And it's going to create a problem.
And so we just have to find a way to have these hard conversations without putting blame, because sometimes people don't want to share because they don't want to bear the burden of the arguments that come behind it. Well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you do this? So we have to make sure that we are set in being able to communicate effectively. So when it's time to do this, you're able to do it. Also, I know that some of the couples that we coach or being in marriage ministry, right? We come across where one person may feel as though they're more financial literate than the other one.
Savvy,
right. Financially savvy. So they say, well, I handle all the finances. And that's fine. There's no, as we said before, there's no one size fits all. But we have to remember that transparency is crucial, right? So even if one person is handling all the finances, both partners should still be aware of what's going on.
For sure.
Because if something happens to that other partner, you don't want to be left in the dark. So everything is not black and white. So we have to look to the future. We have to maybe put in scenarios that maybe aren't there. So we have to make sure that each person is actually aware and something wrong with your hand?
No, I'm saying, right. I'm agreeing with you. I'm about to say something, but go ahead.
Each person is aware of the financial state that the relationship is in.
Right. So,
He wait for you to finish.
and a lot of times, a lot of couples that we coach deal with, separation of money. So it's I have mine, you have yours, and then we have the obligation or the household fund.
Or the bills we pay either together or separately. And as we said before,
if that works, and that works, that's fine. Yes.
But again, how are we planning for the future?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's your money, my money, and then the household money for the obligations, what happens if I'm laid off? What happens if I get ill and I can't work?
Mm-hmm.
Now what? Is it still my money? Because I'm not getting any money.
Right.
So how do we handle those situations? These are conversations and things that we need to have beforehand, not during it.
That's right.
Because that is one of the things that can break up a marriage.
Right.
You're like, well, we were doing fine until he stopped working or she stopped working or she got laid off. But if you plan accordingly and you have open communication and you guys are connected in a way that you're, as we said, the problem is in front of you, not between you, then we can handle these issues better. What?
No.
That's your risk. So
Yeah. So we're talking about now. Let's talk about habits, right? And
Yeah.
this is another thing that can create problems in a situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, in a marriage. I'm someone's a saver, someone is
a spender.
spender.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't know how to save.
Right.
Someone doesn't even think about saving.
Right.
Or someone doesn't see the purpose in wasting money on items that are not quality, right? They were like, well, why can't we get something cheap when the other person says, well, we spend more now, we can save later. Sometimes these conversations don't come up, and when they come up, they become a problem.
Right. So you want to have these conversations in a time of peace. When you're getting along very well, there's no issues or anything, and when you bring these up, then it's better. It's easier to deal with it when you don't have no problems between you. So,
and if one person is in charge of all the finances and the other person is not aware of passwords and their name is not on the account, and what do I do in case of a death, right? All of these things, if our house is not in order, these are things that can take away from your financial stability, that can leave your partner in a shamble.
For sure.
So we have to, as I said before, there's no one size fits all. However you decide as a couple to do your finances, just make sure that you are discussing every scenario that could possibly happen just in case. It's not always what tomorrow is going to be the same.
Right.
We have to plan for the future. As I told Jason, it's just like right? We stormproof our house, right? We weatherize our house. It doesn't matter if the storm comes or if it gets cold.
Right.
We are prepared in case it does. You don't want to get caught with your pants down.
Nope.
Literally.
Yep. Now we talking about that money.
Right. So let's go into our tools. So
Yes.
we're always giving you tools and techniques. Okay. So our first tool is we want you as a couple to individually list 3 financial goals that you want. Right. And then after you list 3 and your mate lists 3, then discuss them as a couple and see how they align. It's a great way to align your visions and your expectations. And the way you can do this is you can try one of the tools that we always recommend is the financial vision boards. So that way you can actually see what you guys are trying to accomplish as a couple, not just one person's vision, but there's 2 people in a relationship. And so you have to make sure that every person's perspective, every person's opinion, every person is valued in the relationship. Shared goals. So you write down on your vision board your shared visual goals that you plan to do financially. And then we encourage couples to have joint goal setting exercises. So practice making joint goals as well as individual goals.
Sure. Now, it's question time.
Question time.
You know, every week we have questions, all right? And these are not rhetorical questions. So you can...
That means we're looking for you to answer
Right, so
them.
you can answer them, whether
Yes.
now or you can come back later and come back and
Or
answer
you can
them.
just answer them to yourself. It may be something you never thought of, and you can just answer them with your mate.
Right. Just a little bit of homework then for you.
But you know, if you want to share, we're open. We're
Yes.
always open. It's an open dialogue. It's a live conversation with you and I.
All right, so here we go. How do you currently view your finances in your relationship? And what mindset shift are you willing to embrace for mutual growth?
All right.
All right, so just drop us a line, some few words, sentence, or something in the comments section. Some answers, some ideas, or some successes.
Some financial successes that you found work in your marriage.
All right. So, all right, well, you guys can go ahead and do that. So let's move on to the second point.
Second point.
All right. Look at this one. Open communication is a relationship must have.
Amen.
Amen. It is crucial in the context of finance.
Yes, it is.
Open communication fosters trust. There go that trust again. Understanding
It's
whether
important.
financial responsibility is shared or separate. Yes, ma'am.
So as relationship coaches, it's our job to help couples to win. And how do we do that? We have to make sure that you understand that when it comes to money, that you need to feel comfortable in discussing your goals, your feels, your fears, your expectations without judgment of your partner.
Right.
Or without the past. Sometimes people may have made mistakes in the past and they're like, well, you're not good with money or whatever. Right? We have to be able to create that safe space no matter what we're talking about. whether it's boundaries, whether it's intimacy, whether it's not connecting. We have to be able to create that safe space between us so that we can share, as Jason said, an open communication with anything. Therefore, communication has to be established in all areas of marriage in order to keep your relationship balanced.
I know we always talk about communication, and it's super important, right? But here it is,
Amen.
right? So now we're talking about communication in marriage, but we're talking about on a financial aspect.
Right.
So now what happens if you have miscommunication and then now you have some financial conflicts?
And what we mean by that is that I know early on when Jason and I first started taking vacation, he and I had very different...
I don't understand why. So let me just say this. I don't understand why you need to have a budget for vacation. There's no budget.
So he and I had a very, very different idea when we went on vacation. He was like, we're on vacation. There's no budget. There's no limit. And I'm like, we're on vacation. And then when we get off vacation, we're going back to real life. So we need to still have money to survive. Right. And so when you don't, because I think we just think everyone is on the same page. So we don't communicate. And then while we're on vacation, we're like, well, we can't afford that. Another person's like, what you mean we can't afford it? Or even if you talk about it beforehand, one person may be wanting to spend excessively because they feel like we're on vacation, where the other person feels as though
Exactly. That's
the
exactly
other person
it.
feels like even though we have it doesn't mean we need to spend it. And that's where we have to understand our strength and weaknesses, the habits of each other, and have open and honest communication around finances. So I know we joked about, I don't know, for our longtime viewers who have been with us for a while,
Yep.
Jason and I joked about the fact that we put a shed up together.
Yep.
So when you're going to do a reno in your house, say you got to you're planning to renovate the kitchen, a bathroom, your basement,
And you set a budget.
and you set a budget, and the other person does not adhere to it. They
I don't
they
think
blow past
any
the budget like it's
I
a
have yet
stop
to
sign that they
find-
didn't see.
I have yet to find a budget that sticks, even when you're watching the TV.
That's not true. That's not true. My sister, and she told me to stop saying things about my family, but this is a plus. She set a budget for her daughter's Sweet 16 birthday party. And I mean, she stayed to that budget.
I'll give you that.
I was amazed because I'm not that disciplined. And so I'll say, well, you know what? I like this. I'm going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
And if it's a few hundred here or a few thousand there, it's okay. You know, God is the source of my supply. It'll always come back. But there's a reason for a budget. And so it could be because you don't need to spend excessively. So couples always fall into this area of conflict when they don't discuss what the budget should be.
Right.
One person may have one.
And you got to have a clear understanding. Because
Yeah.
if not, then you're going to have consequences.
And it's in everything in the reno, right? How much are we going to spend on if you're doing the kitchen? How much are we going to spend on the appliances? How much are we going to spend on work? How much are we going to spend on the material? All of those things are important because if you don't set a budget, you're gonna
over?
find yourself not over, but you're gonna find yourself spending more than you initially anticipated. And so being, as I said, being diligent, being disciplined, and making sure that these are areas that you guys discuss so that you do not have to argue over things that are really unimportant. And they're really not important if we can understand and see eye to eye.
right.
There's no sense of putting undue pressure on your relationship because the outside world does that all by itself.
So stick to your budgets if you're doing a reno.
Stick to your budget if you're doing anything. So I know when Jason and I were, that shed, it wasn't just
Oh, that
the
shit
renovation.
was tough.
It was everything. Jason told me it was
construction.
coming in 4 walls,
Yeah.
and it came in 50
1,000
million
pieces.
pieces.
Man, that was
so
tough.
it was the pressures, right?
Yep.
The undue pressures, temperaments are going high. It took him 15 times to get just the base down,
Yep.
and it took
The foundation.
my wonderful, smart, intelligent sons to come and show us.
We don't have to bring that up. It was only 13 2x4s. I don't understand why we couldn't put that
it
together.
took them to come and say, well,
Yeah.
are you reading the instructions? And I said, I'm leaving it up to your dad.
Several
And
times I read it.
so we put it together, took it apart, put it together, took it apart. But my point is that it's the same thing with money. If you don't prepare and if you don't communicate,
Yep.
you get into arguments that really that are unnecessary that you don't need to do. All right, so let's go into our tool for you guys. How can we do that? We recommend shared budget apps. They have 1,000 of them. You can go on your app store and find things that both of you all find easy to use. And what this does is this facilitates real-time communication. So even if one person is handling the budget, at least with the app, the other person can at least be aware and be in tuned into what's going on.
Right.
All right. Another one is open communication exercises. So if you have not tackled that, what is it? What did it come on the thing of word? If you haven't tackled conflict yet, right?
Oh.
So make sure that you go back and watch some previous exercises on how to tackle
Conflict resolution.
right? Or you can go back and look at some of our communication exercises that we offer in some of our previous podcasts to help you make sure that you can use some of those exercises. But taking time periodically to sit down and discuss open and honest, what's going on in your finances. And if, as I said, if you haven't established a way of clear communication and you don't know how to resolve conflicts, then you can go back and watch our conflict resolution episode to help you get that. Then you can come back and sit down and have a talk.
And this is best done in time of peace. Like I said before, you don't want to wait till you may have some past due notices or something like that. And then you want to have a conversation about it. May not be the best time to have that conversation.
And if you guys feel as though you can't openly and honestly communicate without temperaments, flaring, then you definitely need to work on your communication before tackling any other aspect of your relationship, because communication is key. We have to make sure that what I'm saying you're receiving and what you're saying I'm receiving, and that we're on the same page.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right. So we got another question
let's
here,
get
right?
into our question.
How do you currently communicate about finances with your partner? And what fears or expectations do you find challenging to discuss openly?
That you spend too much. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, don't put the guardrails on me. Let me spend.
I have no problem with that.
All right, what we got?
All right.
We got a comment from Corey saying, "Hey, family, love y'all."
Hey, Corey.
family. Hey,
thank you
what's
for
going
tuning
on,
in.
Corey?
Happy Friday.
All right, so let's go. Let's see what we got here. Now, let's explore co-creation. Not the sense of just having half on the baby here. We ain't talking about that one.
Co-creation.
We're talking about co-creation when it comes to budgeting. Can often feel restrictive.
Yeah, budgeting can feel restrictive. It can feel, it's like a diet, right?
It does, right? If one person really wants to save and the other one wants to spend, it can feel like that. Or
it can feel like that if nobody wants to spend. Whenever you say a budget, it feels restrictive.
I'm not going to be able to have the
Just
things I
like
want to have.
when you say diet, it feels restrictive.
I can't have cookies. Yep, that's exactly what I feel.
Because you
time.
always think about the things you cannot spend or have, as opposed to let's look at the positive.
Right.
Hey, if we want this, we know we're doing this, we're doing that. Let's always look at the positive, but it feels restrictive.
That's true. So it feels restrictive, but it can be an empowering tool.
Yes.
Couples can turn budgeting into a collaborative, visionary process. Empowering comes from instead of limiting spending, couples can co-create a budget that aligns with their shared vision. It becomes a roadmap for achieving their dreams together.
All right. So we understand that creating lasting relationships begins with the realization that we need to share more. We need to connect more. We need to make sure that we are connecting on all cylinders in our relationship. So the less likely that one is, when we do this, when we share openly about finances, about feelings, about boundaries, then it's less likely that the other person will feel unappreciated, unworthy, that they don't matter. So all of these things make a difference. Everyone matters in a marriage. So we have to make sure that the things that we're doing, no matter how long we've been doing them, are they effective in our relationship? Are they keeping us connected? Are they making sure that the love remains alive? So this is the way when we're talking about mind shifts and viewing our relationships different, we have to look at them from a different angle and say, well, if we argue over this, is that really what the problem is? Because if we're arguing over who didn't move the plate, it may not be the plate. It may be that you made a stupid decision financially, or you're not sharing, or I'm not aware of how we're doing financially.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows up in other areas. Yeah, it shows up in other areas of our relationship.
Right. So these are just, red flags. I mean, just take it for what it's worth for you, and see if that can make your relationship better.
Yeah. So not being able to make decisions in a relationship and not sharing your financial goals with each other. If one person is determining all of the plus minuses and all the in-betweens, have you ever thought about how that makes your partner feel? And some people, like I said, there's no one size fits all.
Right.
Your partner may be okay with it, but you still need to get their input.
I should have an opinion.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's
going on?
What do you think about this? Hey,
Right.
my idea is to spend this, or my idea is that we're going to save for this, or I was thinking that maybe we wouldn't take a vacation this year, instead of springing it up on your mate at the last minute. Because when you make your mate feel valued and appreciated, the intimacy can last, right? Our love can last, that we understand that we are a huge part of this relationship. A relationship is where two people are equal, not one is above the other. So we have to remember in our relationships that we are actually doing this. And just because the other person may not say anything doesn't mean that underneath they're not feeling some kind of way.
That's for sure. Just because I don't say anything,
It
doesn't mean that I feel a certain way. Individuals. I mean, the ones that we've worked with, one may be quiet, an introvert. But still,
or they
want to be informed. They want to feel like they're a part of it. It's not. It doesn't feel good when you feel like you shut out of certain parts of your relationship.
Right.
Yeah. But excuse me. Studies show how couples who actively plan for the future are more likely to feel financially secure and satisfied in their relationship.
Secure. All right. So, and when we feel secure in our relationships, that makes everything so much better. It gives us the opportunity when another area may be weak, we have the stability to conquer that together. All right, so let's go into tonight's tool.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so here's one. Both partners be open to financial literacy training.
Nice.
So even though you may be handling your bills and you may have handled them for the last 50 years, there's nothing wrong with getting training. And so it was brought to my attention that even though nothing may be wrong, sometimes you may need to go and just get checked out. You might find out something that you didn't know before. True. Right? You might find a new way of looking at things, or you might find out that the way you've been doing it is wrong. Or so always be open to new things, new ways of exploring. And just because you may feel like you are financial literate, it's nothing wrong with getting training. Because even though we say there's nothing new under the sun, there may be new approaches or something that you haven't learned, even though you've been doing it.
For sure. It's always, it's multiple different ways to come to a particular outcome.
Yes, absolutely.
So be open to discussing those financial issues with your mate.
And how to overcome financial issues.
Them,
right. Because you may have your way of wanting to overcome them, and I may have mine, but there may be an alternative where we can compromise or come to an agreement whereas we'll try this for a little bit and we'll try that. So there's always new ways. There's not always, this is it, black and white.
Right.
I don't want to hear it. So we have to make sure when we're doing these exercises that we're open to discuss financial issues and how to overcome them. Another tool would be working as a team instead of the employer-employee syndrome. Right. Sometimes we become our jobs or we become our careers where we think that we're over our mate, or because we are handling the finances, or we may be more financially savvy, that we look at our mate as maybe not as strong in that area, so they become, instead of a partner, an employee, right? As we stated before, that their opinion doesn't matter, or that whatever they say, it doesn't matter because you're still going to do it your way. But it does matter. In the end, it matters because we are a team. And when we tackle issues in relationships, we have to tackle them as a team.
Now, if you need some help with that, you go check out Boundaries. Okay? we got a podcast on boundaries. So.
All right.
So we have a comment from Cleo saying communication is key for a good relationship.
Yes. Thank you, Cleo. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Friday. All right, guys, don't forget to drop us a line. So another way to do that is finding apps that can make budgeting a shared experience.
For sure.
So like I said, a lot of people do things the old way, but there are apps out there that you can share together that can make both of you a part of the experience.
Right.
Because in a marriage, you just never know what's going to happen, whether it's a job, it's a sickness, whether it's divorce. You don't want to be caught blindsided. And so we know when we're talking about with couples, what happens is that one person may fall sick or they lose their job, and then the other person finds out, well, I never knew. I don't know
how to do any of this.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know what they've done. I don't know where the money is. So like I said, there's no one way for any couple to do anything, right? There's no one size fits all.
Define the way that works best for you.
But we have to be honest in our relationships, right? So people hide money. That means that you don't value your partner. So people hide money in other accounts, or people, and if you have another account, that's fine. But I just think your mate should be aware of it. If something happens to you, that money's sitting there and they don't know that it's there. So having an extra account where it's just yours, but putting your partner's name on it as a beneficiary, make sure that in case of anything, that person can still get to that money. So we have to explore avenues other than yours, mine, and then this is the bills, right? So we have to shift our perspective, the way we look at finances and the way we look at money and relationships. I know in this society has brought a negative connotation on mixing money, right? And so some people believe in we should have one account and some people don't. Like we said, the only way to figure out what works for you is to have open communication. As Cleo said, communication is key, but effective communication. It's not arguing over what you will or won't do, or why you won't do it, or how much money I have. And so Jason and I got into, I know sometimes we coach couples that borrow, right? So let's say I didn't work as many hours, or I was off.
So can you loan me some money?
Right. So
that's fine. I mean, that works for them.
But it doesn't work because I know the saying goes, do not lend money that you expect to get back, right? Only lend out things where if you don't get it back, that's okay. So I do that with my kids. Hey, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Or, first I don't lend and I don't borrow. But if I give it to them, it's with the intentions that if they don't pay it back, we're okay.
Right.
Right. And so as a couple, if it's your money and my money, and then I'm short for the bills, and I say, hey, can you cover me? And then next month I say, can you cover me? How is that going to impact your relationship? Right? How are you established as a couple with communication, handling issues, conflict resolution, having boundaries, and then saying, you know what, I got you.
Right.
Because a marriage is supposed to be a team.
Right. With no questions asked. Like, not what did you spend your money on, or what'd you do?
Right. Like,
because that's the next logical question to ask.
And now it's not employer-employee, it's adult-child, right? It's the parent and the child. Right. So we have to remember, no one is anyone's parent. We don't get married to get a father. We don't get married to get a mother. We get married to get a mate. Someone who we can build with, someone we can dream with, someone we can set goals and hit them. So we have to make sure that when we are envisioning what our relationships are going to be now and in the future, that we are considering all areas, that we're not just looking from one lens. There's so many different avenues or different things that can come up in a relationship that maybe you just don't know about.
100%. All right, we got another question though, babe.
All right, so let's get to another question.
All right, so question. How do you currently approach budgeting in your relationship? And what shared dreams do you envision incorporating into your budget?
Exactly. So I know at the beginning of the year, most people set their, what are they called? Come on.
Their
New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just going to say that.
Right. Yep. So a lot of people do their New Year's resolutions, and they're usually individual. And I know like one of the first or second episodes that we had at the beginning of the year, we encourage couples to just sit down as a couple, as a married couple, or if you're not married, and make goals together.
Yep.
Make them individually, but also make them collectively together in a collaborative effort to say, hey, where do we want our relationship to go? What do we want our relationship to look like at the end of the year? What do we as a couple, what do we want to look back and say, hey, we did this, we acquired this, we attained this, we did this together. Right? So it's not just about individual things. It's about how can we grow as a couple.
That's right.
You going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that's the most important thing. How do we grow as a couple?
Oh, you all right?
Yeah, I'm not. Why I have to be okay?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's how we grow as a couple.
right. And setting goals is just not an individual sport. Right?
Well, it can start out like that. I mean, first you get yourself in order, and then you can come back and get the house in order. It's like, hey, this is what, I want to take a vacation, right? Let's plan out where we want to go, how much we want to spend.
And I think it
set the
shouldn't.
budget for it.
And even though maybe, like I said before, one person has always done it, doesn't mean that we can't do it together. It doesn't mean we can't start sharing in the responsibility of planning. I know as women, we usually oftentimes take on the responsibility of, okay, I'll find the hotel, I'll find this, I'll find that, I'll do this, I'll do that. Not always, but most of the time, we take on the responsibility of, all of the details.
Right.
Or it could be the male. But it doesn't have to be just one person. I think it's more satisfying and more rewarding. And then the other person doesn't have to ask, well, why didn't you get this place? Or why didn't we stay here? Or why aren't we doing this? So when it's a shared endeavor, all inputs are put on the table.
Right.
Because, go ahead.
But you just brought up a good point. So if you're going to do all of that, you're going to get the hotel, the flights, whatever, rental car, and all this stuff. If I'm going to leave it up to the individual, I shouldn't come back and say, why you pick this place?
Right. People
why do I
shouldn't.
have this? Well, and
that's what usually happens, right?
You should not have that. If I turn it over to you,
if your mate turns it over to the other mate, they shouldn't have. But that's what happens.
That is what happens.
And so we're in the middle or the beginning of vacation. People are in the beginning of vacation and they're sitting at the airport arguing over why did you get a compact car as opposed to a full luxury car?
Yeah.
Right? Because you left it up to me and the budget dictated this is what we had to get. But if we're not sitting down as a team, as a couple, discussing, what are non-negotiables, right? Hey, we can negotiate this. That's not really important to me. But where I stay is a must. I need some place luxury, right? So all the non-negotiables need to be understood. And when we do it collectively as a team, then all opinions matter. It's not left up to one person, and there's no room for error or arguments. We know what to expect. We know how much to spend.
Yep.
We know where we're going. We know what we're enjoying. There's no, hey, let's do this. No, we can't because
we're both planning. Everybody's got all of their interests taken care of. Yeah, it's nice when you plan together.
Yes, and that's anything.
And it's less pressure, right?
It
it's
is.
so much pressure when you're trying to plan for the whole entire family and you want to have fun, right? So you got to make sure you have all these things done. And it's like, oh, I hope I didn't miss anything.
And then you got to make sure you stand within the budget. And the other person, it may not even be taking that into account.
For sure.
So you get, so when we're talking about finances, we have to make sure that we are on the same page moving forward. And that is just one area of our relationship that we have to look at, just like love and intimacy and getting in a rut and anything else. Right. Communication, not being able to effectively sort out our issues or our differences. All of these things matter. Every aspect of your relationship plays a part. What is it? The parts equal the whole, or I can't think of the saying, but it's in my head, right? So it's just like having a pie, and you take one piece. That one piece makes a difference. Now the pie is not whole. It's still a pie, but there's still a piece missing. So we have to make sure when we're talking about the pie of marriage and the pie of our relationship, that we're not leaving anything up to chance, because we want to make sure that every area of our relationship is sealed tight. Right, that we are building a firm foundation, a solid foundation in every area that could possibly become an issue.
There you go.
In trust, in money, in how we raise our kids, what our religion is going to be. There's so many issues that we need to talk about, and oftentimes we get in. As I said, when Jason and I first got married, we didn't talk about finances.
No.
Why? I don't know. We were friends for a long time. We dated for 2 years. Why didn't we talk about finances?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Maybe I was afraid. Maybe he was afraid. Maybe we didn't know how to have that conversation. And so when you get into marriage, now you find yourself looking at each other going, how do we talk about finances? This is a very important part. How are we going to pay the bills? What does our bank account look like? How much money do you make? What kind of apartment can we afford? Can we afford to have kids? You know, what if I want to leave my job? What if I want to start a business, right? All of these things have to be taken into consideration.
So we're just giving you food for thought, right? So if you haven't had these conversations or you don't know how to have these conversations, start easy.
And it's never too late.
No, it's not.
Because
if you want to make change, and excuse me, I don't mean to cut you off, but if you want to make change, so if you say you're the one that's taking care of the finances, and you want to bring your partner in, there's a way. Here's your inroad, right? You can have a way to ease them into it, and let them know, hey, well, what do you think about this? I was thinking about maybe paying something off early. What's your input on that? Right? So you start to get the input, then they become an active player in the game, and that's what you want. And then that way you guys can move on to bigger and better things.
I know oftentimes what we have found as coaches is that when one person takes care of the finances, either because they feel that they're more savvy or the other person just doesn't want to deal with it. Right? They're like, hey,
they get it by default. Right.
That person's taking care of it. I'm good. I know they have us good. But you still need to be aware. Both people need, as I said, whether you sit down once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once, every 6 months, there is a need to sit down and really discuss your finances, your goals, your ambitions, what you want to do, what does that look like? How can we work together to, whatever, retirement, whether it's or having a baby or just understanding the habits of each other and how we can work together to maybe not make finances a strain, or how if we have finances that we can enjoy more of them because you can't take them with you. Yeah. They're meant to enjoy. Sure. Right?
For sure.
Plan for retirement, but also plan to just enjoy life because it's not promised.
And that's a conversation right there. You know? So are we retired? Do I move to a particular state that I want to move to, and I just assume you want to move with me? So
are we going to downsize?
Right.
All those things. So the conversations need to be there. And so it's not just about today, but it's about the partnership for life and that both partners are aware of every aspect. All right. So, all right, Jason, I think we are going to wrap up tonight's episode. So, Jason, what is the key takeaway for our viewers tonight?
The key takeaway is that tackling finances together is not just about dollar and cent. It's about investing in the growth and success of your relationship.
It's always about the growth and the success.
But it's about investing.
It's an investment.
It's about the investment.
How long is your investment?
That's right. It's a long game, people.
It's that joke. Yeah. How long are you willing to invest in your relationship? How important is your relationship to you that you understand the importance of fireproofing it, right?
Yeah.
So listeners, don't forget to share your experiences with us. Don't forget to answer the questions, whether now on the live or in the playback. Don't forget to go back and just share what works for you. Maybe some of our viewers may want to hear, it's always nice. We're all in this married thing together. We can all learn from each other. Right. So these are just food. This is just food for thought to help marriages that may be struggling in certain areas. So make sure that you share your wins with us. We're all about helping each other, pulling each other up.
For sure. All right. If that's it.
I think that's it for me. That's all I think I want to talk about tonight. I'm going to enjoy tonight and just every day, every night. And we thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much.
And don't forget, if you want us to drop you a line on the replay or the live, make sure you drop your name so that we can shout you out and say thank you for being our viewers. Thank you for tuning in, that we love each and every one of you. We thank you for your dedication in tuning in.
Thank you so much. All right. So I guess this ends another fantastic episode of Love and Beyond the I Do podcast.
That's it. That's right.
We are the dynamic duo in marriage. And as always, we are in it to win it. Till next week, guys. Peace.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Lovin' Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.